My top reasons why Errol Spence Jr. I start that cat man down should just go ahead and fight Keith Thurman as opposed to waiting in negotiations trying to get the Terence Crawford fight done. I will explain my stance in this video. It should be a good one, an in-depth one inside the mind of ego. Let's get it. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. What up, fight world? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Quick backstory on why I'm choosing to make this video and why now. So, you know me, I don't wait for no one else to move. I tell you what I feel on my channel. That's the beauty of this platform, YouTube. ES News had an interview with Keith Thurman. He was talking spicy, saying things like, you guys got to check out the interview. But he was basically, Thurman was saying stuff like, I gave Errol Spence opportunity to grow, and now the fight would be worth more money than it would have been back there. So Errol should really be thanking me. And he was just talking about how he was in line to fight Errol Spence Jr. Make sure you guys subscribe. And Errol got in that additional car accident, and then that kind of sidelined his fight with Errol Spence as the negotiations for Terence Crawford kind of took a front seat, because Crawford by that point had finished his fight with David Avanesian. So the same day Keith Thurman came out with this interview, Errol says, I'm starting to feel played, ... Now, full disclosure, it's a cryptic message. He didn't elaborate what he was talking about, if he was talking about Crawford. However, fans like Ari says, if you are talking about Crawford, move on, man. He's been wasting your time. My dude Ray Jackson says, just move on with your career, champ. So obviously, with the cryptic message, there are people who naturally are going to believe that he's referring to Crawford, like he's starting to feel played. Is he referring to that? I don't know. You'd have to ask Errol Spence. However, I think it's the perfect segue for this particular video. Whether he's talking about it or not, I think fans are growing tired of not having an announcement, and that's what I want to explore more in this video. Now, I posted this. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at BoxingEgo. I really wish Errol would just fight Keith Thurman at this point. In this video, I will showcase some of the reasons why I feel that way. And the biggest thing is the time out of the ring. Like, you look at the fight with Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford up and chose to fight against David Avocado out of nowhere in negotiations last year with Errol Spence. He says they try to drag their butts, So I'm fighting David Avanesian. That's what I'm choosing to do. I'm foregoing negotiations with PBC and Errol Spence, who were trying to make a fight right before Super Bowl. And I'm going my own route. BLK Prime offered me a bag and it's up. So I got to do what's right for me. You know what? Roll the clip.
And then it didn't come to the light. You know, of course it's disappointing, but at the same time, you know, I have a career, I got a family, you know, I got to continue with my career. I can't sit on my hands and wait for another fighter or another promotional company to make things right for me when I'm not signed with them. So I got to do what's best for me at the end of the day.
Meanwhile, Errol Spence last fought against former champion Cuban Yordenis Ugas at the welterweight division in his home state, Arlington, Texas, AT&T Stadium, and the date was April 16th. Now, I'm not the smartest brother in the world, but we just passed Cinco de Mayo, so that means it's been over a year since we're in May 2023, meaning Errol Spence hasn't fought in over a year. Now, the Yordenis Ugas performance was a great one by Errol Spence. Hometown victory, he unified, got the third belt, and I think for someone Errol Spence's age, the activity shouldn't be this. And Errol Spence is really wasting prime years of his career trying to stubbornly cling to fighting one guy, which we all want to see the fight. Listen, my thing is this. If the Crawford fight could easily be made and announced like last week, no problem. But we've been at it for a while, and it seems there's obviously some type of stumbling blocks, and who's to say how long this is gonna last? So I'm not for that. I think like I said, and you got to look at Errol Spence particularly. He's had bizarre things happen in his career, like the car accident. Then he came back and got the biggest fight of his career, the Pacquiao fight, and then had to forego the Pacquiao fight because he was forced to withdraw because he had a detached retina. This has all been part of Errol Spence's triumphant story. And now for an unrelated to those last two, the car accident and detached retina, he's having yet another holdup in his career. And I just don't see that as being a good trend to be on the younger you are. Listen, in boxing, everybody has a shelf life, and the more frequently you fought, the better it is typically for you, so you stay sharp. You look at Floyd Mayweather, who I think is the gold standard for boxing. He just did a lot of smart business. Like, he never allowed Pacquiao to dictate how he moved, even though fans were like, oh, fight Pacquiao. If he was fighting Cotto, that's his focus. He focused on Cotto, and he's not worried about Pacquiao. But we live in a different generation where I think the fighters are being influenced by boxing Twitter and social media and TikTok and YouTube videos, and they want to do the noble thing. But I mean, it's like being in the wild, wild west. If you are trying to handle everything non-violently and peacefully, but you have a band of outlaws who are gun wielding and they're shooting up stuff and drunk, like, you got to fight fire with fire. And I just feel like Errol Spence, he's trying to be, noble and stay true to his word. And I'll never fight Keith Thurman, but at what cost? You've been out the ring yet again for over a year. So before the Kell Brook fight, that was a 9-month layoff. Then you had the car accident. That was another year-plus layoff before you came back and fought Danny Garcia. Then the Pacquiao fight got pushed back or canceled, and then Ugas fought him, and then you had another layoff, and now you have a layoff because of negotiations. So in a perfect world, like I said earlier, I just think Errol Spence should just move on with his career. And I'm not saying never fight Terence Crawford, and I'm not saying I'm scared to see him fight Crawford. If they can get this show on the road and announce the fight ASAP, then cool. But if that's not the case, I would like to see him move on with his career, because you're also, from a strategic point of view, you're also giving Crawford an advantage, right? And this is not an excuse. This is a simple fact, because many people said when it came to Terence Crawford that he had just left Top Rank in November of the previous year, fought Sean Porter, hadn't fought anybody, right? And people said it was only right that he fought David Avanesian because he needed a tune-up, because he wanted to fight last year. He didn't want to be out of the ring for quite that long and then go straight into an Errol Spence fight. But Errol Spence, trying to stay true to his word, that's exactly what he's willing to do. And strategically, I'm not saying he won't win or can't win. I don't know. But what I am saying is you're still giving up ground that you, as the A side, and he is the A side over Crawford. I've always said that you don't really need to do that. Again, see Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather never gave up home court advantage. He never gave up any advantage to his opponent when he's worked so hard to become the A side. Errol Spence is giving up a bit of advantage, whether he, I know he's a fighter. So fighters, I know a lot of fighters personally, and they're stubborn, they're gutsy, they fear no man. I get all that. So in his mind, he probably like, I don't care, I don't need no tune-ups. He put that on wax, he said that, but it's still, why give someone any type of advantage? I mean, look recently to Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia. Gervonta has an experienced team, and they weren't going to allow the younger Ryan Garcia, who's supposed to be explosive and strong, do some like tricky stuff and make weight and then come back 40 pounds heavier the night of the fight, which literally gives Ryan Garcia probably his only advantage over Gervonta Davis, because we know he's not more skilled than Gervonta Davis. So that's, if you don't nip that in the bud, like Tank Davis's team did with the same day weigh-in and the rehydration clause, then people are going to try to find these loopholes. That's just how it works. So Tank, in that situation, he was smart, because a lot of fighters, they pack down and crunch down into these little weights, and then they come back the next day 30 pounds heavier and somehow have replenished and rehydrated all this weight, meaning they're really fighting in a division that they're probably not suited for. You're just stuffing your body into a lighter division so you can weight bully people. So strategically, I also don't think that it's smart for Errol Spence to stay true to his word or whatever and just go so long without being in the ring, because we all know there's a difference between sparring and training versus an elite level fight. And Crawford, best believe, is an elite level fighter. So he got a tune up in December against a guy that was just giving him some rounds and he can work on things. And you're going straight into the gold medal match if you fight Terence Crawford next. So the inactivity has a major part in me saying that he might as well just go on and fight Keith Thurman, if it's going to take much longer with the Terence Crawford fight. Like I said in that clip that I played you of Terence Crawford, he lets you know he's not waiting for anybody. He says, why should I wait? I got a family to feed. I got kids to feed. You know, I got people to look after. So why should I wait for a fight? I got to do what's best for me. But Errol Spence is, you know, stubbornly trying to only fight Crawford. And I think Keith Thurman and a couple other guys are great options if you can't get the show on the road. And this may be unpopular opinion, but I think Keith Thurman is a better showman in terms of pre-fight buildup and hype. And we've seen how successful that was in a fight with Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia did an excellent job just being the B-side and hyping up the fight from his angle and telling people he's going to knock out Tank and stuff like that. And we know Thurman is a respected guy. So I think Thurman generates excitement and public interest. Plus, Thurman has a reputation since he's a former world champion with an exciting fighting style. Plus, you have some vulnerabilities with Thurman, like he's susceptible to the body. Errol Spence, one of the best body punchers in boxing. So there's going to be some intrigue, but Keith Thurman's also explosive and he's a boxer, a puncher. So I think it's great for a potential high profile matchup that really can capture the public attention and generate significant value. So I still think it's a great test of skills and it's a legacy building fight. Get that out the way and you can still fight Terence Crawford. I'm talking about wait, negotiating, and whatever caused him to say, I'm starting to feel played, and you know, whatever's taking so long. So obviously there's something that's taking long. Like, put it this way, answer me this, riddle me this, Batman. So this is an article when Terence Crawford made the decision to fight against David Avanesian, October 20th, 2022. So at the end of last year, he was in negotiations with Errol Spence and he decided to fight in the Shy Health Center December 10th against David Avanesian, pulling out of the Spence negotiation. Crawford says, I'm excited about this opportunity. I was looking forward to the Spence fight. I started communicating with Al Heyman in the PBC back in June. Boom, you never know. June. So this was an article from last year, 2022. He said, I agreed to all their BS. So that means you started negotiating with them in June of 2022. And right now we're in May of 2023. I am not the smartest brother in the world, but that means we're right on the cusp of a year that you've been negotiating with free agent Terence Crawford, and we still don't have a fight actually announced, signed, sealed, delivered, ready to go. Yet we got Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia, which also had initially some deep negotiations, and you had different hurdles like Golden Boy, DAZN needed to be involved, and these types of things. And that fight has already came and went, and Tank Davis is probably on vacation now. Yet we still don't have Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. So you can see this is borderlining insanity. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting it to yield new results. Terence Crawford, for the record, also did another interview where he said he was talking to BLK and PBC in May. That ESPN article said June, But either way you look at it, it's either May or June of 2022. My point, you've been in negotiations with Crawford. You already had negotiations from at least June 2022. Then he left to fight Avanesian, and then you re-entered negotiations. What else is there to discuss? You should have discussed most of it in the several months that it took from June to October when he bailed out and said he's fighting David Avanesian. So if you re-enter negotiations, to me, I feel like it should be a pretty smooth transition because you've already had deep negotiations with this person. So to me, there's clearly some things that need to be resolved, or like obstacles or roadblocks that are preventing this fight from already having been announced. An example would be Canelo and Caleb Plant for Undisputed. They had negotiations, and those negotiations fizzled out, and Canelo was seemingly going a different way. But Canelo, you know, he said he's not fighting in September, but he came back to the table and came back with PBC. And since they already had deep negotiations with him, they were able to put together the Canelo and Caleb Plant fight for Undisputed a few months later. But again, that process becomes easier because you just had deep negotiations to find out what that person wants. So when you re-enter negotiations, I would imagine you've already done a lot of groundwork, but it's almost like they started a brand new set of negotiations from a clean slate. So I don't know. I just think Errol Spence at this point should look to move on with his career. I don't care what he said about he don't want tune-ups and he'll never fight Keith Thurman. The Keith Thurman fight is hot, it's sellable. And Keith Thurman, unlike Crawford, Keith Thurman hasn't prohibited Texas as a venue. So you could make a lot of money if you fight Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman probably would travel to Texas at this point of his career to fight Errol Spence, versus Crawford told you on Sean Porter's podcast that he's not fighting in Texas. So it's just more and more obstacles and hurdles. And meanwhile, Errol Spence is just staying out of the ring, you know, and I hate to see that. If you're not injured or you're not banned from, you know, failing the PED test or something like that, who wants to see a prime fighter and 3-belt champion just get no activity, no working? You know, I think Jermall Charlo was out the ring, but he had some things happening in his personal life. Errol Spence has had really no issue. The only issue that's keeping him out the ring is these negotiations, it sounds like. And finally, with all these delays in the negotiations for Crawford, you're running the risk of diminishing public interest. People are going to grow tired of all the back and forth and just check out. There's so many free, you know, Fast and the Furious X is coming out, bunch of new movies and different things coming out. There's other forms of entertainment. So the longer Spence and Crawford negotiations take, I think the higher the chance the public interest for that fight begins to wane. And if you focus on Keith Thurman, that's an in-house ready-made fight. You don't have to worry about like this and that. I'm sure Keith Thurman, he's at a stage in his career where he probably needs a big opportunity like this. He just fought Mario Barrios, you know? So these are some of my reasons. I might make a part 2 because I got a lot to say on this topic. I just want to see these things speed up. You know, those are some of the potential drawbacks for waiting on Terence Crawford. Listen, it's a great fight. If they can make the fight soon, then I'm with it. I will support it and stuff like that. But if it's going to cause Errol Spence to be out the ring for another 3 months, I mean, you should really start looking at other options. We unpack. That's my thoughts. Let me know how great I did in this video. I'm pure greatness, the best in the business, and I'm out. Introducing Super Thanks. Right here on the official Boxingego YouTube. Super Thanks allows you, the viewers, to show a little bit of extra gratitude, which enables me as a full-time content creator to push out the content you need in the world of boxing. Underneath all the videos, you will see a heart with a $sign in it. You can enter any amount that you find suitable as a super thanks. A brand new interactive and colorful way to get your comments highlighted and noticed by not only myself, but other people on the YouTube platform. Super thanks, a unique and cool way to show and applaud us full-time content creators. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content. Super thanks. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC, Bluetooth ready, with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.